Stay tuned for the Splash Live. It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Tyler Keefe. Thank you very much for being with us. There are a number of places to go in our community to learn about topics of critical importance to us here in Greater West Bloomfield and beyond. That includes some of our local bookstores. Our own Jake Schaff did just that recently and joins us for more. Jake.
Thank you, Tyler. We've heard a lot over the last few years about how disinformation and misinformation is affecting modern media. And last night, I had the chance to talk with former U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, Barbara McQuade, who's currently a professor from practice at the University of Michigan Law School and a legal analyst with MSNBC. She just published her first book, Attack from Within: How Disinformation is Sabotaging America, which tackles how disinformation is affecting our society, how it can be identified, and how we can fight against it.
One of the things I have seen in recent years is the growing threat of disinformation to our national security. And so I wanted to write an accessible book to help people understand what these tactics are so that we can identify them, name them, and defeat them. I think some of the things we're seeing today are some of the same strategies we've seen used by authoritarians of the past, Mussolini and Hitler and others. So one of them is this idea of declinism. Society is bad, everything is bad, the country is not as good as it used to be, creating this sense of victimhood. And then to demonize others and scapegoat them and say, and the reason everything is so bad is these other people. And so driving a wedge between groups in society to amass power. In playing on fear, suggesting that the world is a very frightening place, and so to protect what we have and what is ours, we might need to resort to drastic means. I think speaking particularly in this election year, when no doubt there will be all kinds of disinformation bombarding us, trying to persuade us to vote in a certain way or to confuse us about voting, I think one of the things we can do is to seek out accurate information by looking to credible sources. So when it comes to voting, looking at the Secretary of State's website or the League of Women Voters websites. These are nonpartisan groups that will give you accurate information minus any spin whatsoever.
What role do you see the government playing in combating disinformation, and what specific measures would you recommend?
I think the government has a big role to play here. Of course, we are all the government, and we need the political will to address some of these things. So one is regulating social media. There are computer programs that deliberately drive content to us that's designed to generate outrage. And so the algorithms are something we could regulate. We could either prohibit these kinds of algorithms designed to manipulate us, or at least require their disclosure. I think another thing we could do is to have some reforms to the way our campaigns are financed. One of the things that we're seeing online is no requirement to disclose who's paying for the ads. So even if special interest has an unlimited number on what they can pay for, at least we could see who they are with some changes in the law. We could also have one more requirement online, and that is to prohibit the use of anonymous accounts. Anonymous accounts are what allow people to pose as people they are not and fool others. The use of bots online to amplify the popularity of messages. If we could prohibit that and people had to actually be verified, I think that would go a long way towards stopping the lies and the meanness that we see online. I think some of these things are government regulations that we would need to do. Some require acts of Congress, but some of the things we really have the power to do ourselves. All of us could do a better job of learning media literacy ourselves, to identify second sources, to look at a story and not just the headline before we pass it on. But I think the most important thing is we need to choose for ourselves our commitment to truth. I think that in today's polarizing age, all of us are very willing to just argue the position of our side rather than looking for compromise, looking for nuance, and trying to find a way forward. We have to be more concerned about solving problems than we are about winning.
With all the information that's out there across several different platforms, it's more important than ever that we are all well-informed media consumers. Tyler?
Thank you for that, Jake. And it's a great point that you made there, and it's great points very great points that Mrs. McQuade, our former U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Michigan, professor from practice at U of M Law, as well as a legal analyst at MSNBC, made on media literacy. That is the first thing that I remember us talking about in school at MSU. One of my first classes in media and information was talking about the importance of being literate media consumers, knowing where to find reliable sources, what to look for that could potentially be misinformation or disinformation. Great stuff from you there, and appreciate your report, Jake. Bringing in now Kevin McIntosh, our co-host on the program. Happy Thursday to you, Kevin, and an exciting day yesterday also on the basketball court.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. Heard some great things happen, some great wins and advancement happen in high school sports, and I'm excited to talk about it, Tyler.
Yeah, we got a lot of high school basketball still left to cover this season between the West Bloomfield Lakers on the girls' side and Orchard Lake St. Mary's on the boys' side. Tuesday night, it was St. Mary's. Wednesday, it was all about the girls in green and white. Actually, they were in black and green last night at Marion High School, where the Lakers competed for the regional finals championship against fellow OAA foes in the Royal Oak Ravens. The Lakers got off to a very hot start, beginning the game on an 8-0 run before one single free throw got the Ravens on the board. That was a big hot start, and I had a chance to talk to Coach Darren McAllister about that hot start and the regional championship win.
Just understanding what our overall objective is and what our overall goal is. We knew that, so we knew we had to come out strong. And we did, and we kind of tapered off as it went, but it's just learning how to be consistent, understanding the teams are going to make a run. They made a run. I don't think we addressed it the way we should have, but we got better and got an opportunity to get a lot of our reserve players time as well.
What did you like that you saw from your team tonight that maybe has been developing over the past few games, or that you maybe haven't seen so far in the playoffs from them?
I would think just playing together. Our big thing is, we play with energy, we play with effort, we play with focus, and we play with together. I think early on we were playing together a lot, sharing the basketball and finding the openings and just being disciplined.
Your defense was so stout tonight, limiting the scoring opportunities for Royal Oak. They really had to try to force it out to the perimeter. As you get further into these playoffs, how much of a key is it to have that balanced defensively, to also be able to shut down the perimeter for these teams that are going to be better shooters overall?
Well, that's very important. That's paramount when it comes down to playing some of the better teams. And when you get to this point, when you're the Sweet 16, every team you're playing is real good. Royal Oak, they were one of the teams in our conference. They were a real good opponent, without a doubt. So we respect them and respect what they've done. So we knew we had our hands full. We just came out strong and kind of imposed our will on them and got to the point where we were comfortable enough to play some of our reserve players. We got to work with them and get them ready to, when their number's called, they're able to go out there and perform for us as well. So we just got to keep working.
What are the benefits and the drawbacks of having these next few days ahead to prepare for the quarterfinal on Tuesday? You got a few days that can be a benefit. Could that be maybe a drawback too, to have that time gap?
Well, there is no drawback in that. Actually, it's a benefit. It gives us an opportunity as coaches to scout our upcoming opponents. So and to also let our bodies heal and get back right back in our playing form. So there's no drawbacks into it. Just going out there, executing, but having our bodies where it needs to be so we can execute. Because next week, go to semifinals and finals is the next day. So that's just mainly, it's actually a benefit.
As you get closer to qualifying to get to the Breslin Center and getting that one extra chance to play for a state championship in 2024, what is the focal point right now for your team as you go into these next couple of games leading into potentially a third consecutive state title appearance?
Well, the big thing is just doing what we do. I tell the players all the time, if you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to be who you're supposed to be. The benefit that we have in this situation is we've been here before. We know what it takes to win, and we also know what it takes to get to the point and kind of leave something on the table. So, with having that gives us an extra advantage as opposed to some of the other teams that we're playing.
Coach, anything else you'd like to say about tonight's game or as we get to the final on Tuesday?
Well, as far as tonight's game, I can't wait to get in the gym tomorrow to kind of iron out some of the wrinkles and work on some of the things that we didn't do well. And let's get ready to go to University of Detroit.
The Lakers allowed just one field goal in total, one successful field goal for the Ravens in the entirety of the first quarter and ran most of the second and the third quarters with a running clock due to the mercy rule as they had quite the significant lead. This team is surging, and so after the game, the person I had to talk to was floor general, senior point guard Destiny Washington, who told me about what her team has done to kick things into high gear as they get closer and closer to having the Breslin Center in sight.
I think it's really the seniors understanding that what we want to do is go out with a ring, and so that every game we play, we know we have to give our all so that we can accomplish our goal.
And talk about that dynamic with the seniors. Yourself and the Davis twins and even Kendall has seen a taste of the championship as sophomores. You've been there. You understand what it takes to get there. How does that factor into how you get yourself prepared, but also how you help get your teammates ready for championship ball?
Well, since we've all been there before, we know what it's like to play under the bright lights at the Breslin, and we all know what it feels like to win, and then we all know what it feels like to lose. So just knowing what we have to do to get to the next step, and we take it every game at a time, and then we just let them know that, like, you really have to play this game. This could be our last game, so you really give it all you can. And we played in big games before, so we know we don't have to speed it up. Like, we can slow it down, play our game. Like, we can handle the pressure.
These last few games in particular, you have been kind of that focal point on offense as the facilitator, getting your players open, making sure everybody's firing on every cylinder as they're executing coach's game plan. Now, how does that speak to your style of play, and how does the talents of your teammates then complement that for you?
Well, our whole starting five can get buckets off the dribble. They can take anybody if they really wanted to, but just knowing that I can get all my teammates involved, all our dishes and making those extra passes, that's really what's been making us click, knowing that everybody can score whenever, so we can just pass the ball around and look for the best shot.
You got one more game till you qualify to play at the Breslin Center, 2 more games to the finals, and 3 more wins, you're state champions. What's it going to take from here, in your opinion, for your team to bring that trophy back home to West Bloomfield?
Well, it's just going to take a lot of focus and a lot of dedication in practice and in the games. It's going to take the support from the starting five and then the support from the people coming off the bench and everybody executing what they need to do.
Anything else you'd like to say about these games or what's coming forward?
We're going to get a ring. That's it.
That's all you need to hear from a player like Destiny Washington. Ooh. So confident and ready to compete for a state title, which could be her second in her career. One of those many players that were sophomores during the championship run a couple years back, had that heartbreaking loss in their junior season, and are competing once again for their 3rd shot at a state title. The team's making everybody in the West Bloomfield High School community proud, especially over in their athletic department. They've been a reliable powerhouse for a number of years, but I also had a chance to talk to athletic director Eric Pierce from West Bloomfield High School, who says their impact goes from basketball to much more, and that is a huge point of pride for everyone in the Laker Nation community.
Oh, I tell you, they're absolutely amazing to watch, and we've had the pleasure of watching this team develop over the last few years, and just the ins and outs, and it's all the little things. You watch the little intricacies of the game, how hard they play, how they work as a team. They can make a pass and know where at. They play great defense. They hustle all the time. I tell you, they're just so.
Yeah, Coach Hill around talked about that parallel between academics and athletics and how these girls perform in the classroom and out in the school. How do you think that translates to the way that they play as a team and as a unit on the basketball floor?
No, for sure. I mean, they're leaders. They're leaders in everything that they do, and that's what they've been their whole lives. And the greatest part about sports and athletics is it teaches you how to manage a schedule. It teaches you how to be a leader both on and off the court. It teaches you how to make sure that you're understanding what other people are doing at all times. And I tell you, our girls, when they're walking the hall, we're in the classroom, they're a pleasure for our teachers, and they come up to us, and that's why you see so many of our faculty here supporting them, and they're just amazing.
And in terms of this program, in terms of what this means, to be able to potentially get back to the Breslin Center for a third consecutive year, that's tough for any program at any point. And what does that say about what Coach McAllister and what these girls have built over these last several years?
Well, they're resilient, number one. You know, it's like they're a battle-tested champion, and they've seen everything that people can throw at them. And they don't get too high or too low with things. So when things aren't going their way, you can always count on our girls. It's just a matter of time before they come back. And Coach McAllister's done a wonderful job of preparing the team like that because, let's be honest, you know, as the number one team in the state the whole year, we've been the hunted the whole year. And it's tough because we're going to get everybody's best game. But our girls expect that, and they truly excel in everything that they do.
Eric, anything else for us?
Just everybody come out to Callahan Hall on Tuesday, cheer on these girls as we battle against Temperance Bedford in the quarterfinal and look to go back to the Breslin. Go Lakers.
Yeah, the Lakers 58-25 final score over their fellow OAA rivals in the Royal Oak Ravens. That's their another double-digit win for them in the playoffs. And Kevin, big matchup coming up for them again. They had a tough one in the regional semis against another high-caliber team in Detroit Renaissance, and a tough team from the OAA last night. Coming up next, the 24-2 Temperance Bedford Kicking Mules at Callahan Hall in Detroit at the University of Detroit Mercy. That is going to be a Tuesday night game at U of D Mercy, 7 o'clock tip-off for the Lakers, but an impressive win yet again.
Yeah, man, listen, I had the privilege to go to one of their games live. And let me tell you, I have never been such a fan of high school sports in general, especially since I graduated decades ago. But they make the game look so much interesting. Even though they are winning, I love that the coaches are saying we still have a lot to learn.
Yeah, every time I talk to them about a big win, about an impressive win, one of the first things I hear from them, especially from coaches, I can't wait to get back in the gym tomorrow. And as Eric Pierce, our athletic director, said, and as Coach Hilber said earlier on in the week, they are great not only on the basketball court, not only in the gym, but also in the classroom. And Kevin, some of our state leadership looking to really emphasize some of the help that students can get from resources within their own schools, particularly in their libraries.
Yeah. As we just recently found out, there are some Michigan lawmakers that recently introduced the library in every school bill. And here to talk about it, joining us, we have Michigan Senator Rosemary Bayer. How you doing, Senator Rosemary Bayer?
Doing great. Thank you, Kevin. It's wonderful to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on your very busy day. So what we have here essentially is Senate Bills 741, 2, and 3, collectively known as the Library in Every School legislation, aiming to ensure that every public school in Michigan has a library staffed by state-certified librarians. First and foremost, explain a little bit more what this is and why this is important to you.
Oh, great. Thank you. I'm really excited to be talking about it. I'm excited about the bills. We have some other things that go with the bills, even I can tell you about. I grew up with books. My grandmother was a librarian in Ferndale, and we used to go there, and she would actually keep the written on books for us. We would read everything, you know. So it's hugely important to me personally. But that being said, what we know is that libraries in school, with librarians in school, have a huge impact on the success at school. And it's achievement, you know, it's graduation, it's grades, it's all that. It's also equity, because reading is the number one factor in success at school. So if you can't read, you are going to have trouble from that point on, right? That's why that third grade thing was so critical, right? Everybody knows that if you aren't reading by third grade, we got to help. We got to help in a big way, right? So we have a lot of extra resources to make sure that anybody who is struggling at that point gets caught up right then. Because if you wait till fifth grade or seventh grade, it's so much harder. Ask any adult who's going back later to learn how to read how much more difficult it is at that stage. So we're really focused on literacy overall. And then there's a lot of data, a lot of studies that show that literally specifically school libraries and school librarians are a huge part of that impact. So we wanted to put it back. I know that I've been in schools, I visited schools where the library wasn't even there anymore. It was an empty room or it was filled with stuff. It's not being used as a library. And I think that's a tragedy. So there's other pieces we can talk about too. Do you have specific questions?
No, absolutely. There's so much running through my mind with this because first and foremost, this is one of those things that you don't even realize until you think about it. And
It's
I
so
thought back
important.
and I was like, wow, I do remember being in some schools where there were no official
Library.
actual library. And you would think that's where a library should be, in a
That's what it should
school.
be. And I know that, there's a lot more shift to online content, right?
Correct.
That doesn't mean you don't still need librarians and the opportunity
Okay.
to focus on literacy, on being able to read. And the other piece, so librarians themselves are a huge part of it because they bring expertise, right? They bring the skills that are needed. They also bring new technology, right? Librarians are technologists anymore, right? They bring that new technology. One of the things that started this discussion here in the Michigan Senate about needing to do this is one of my constituents. I live in West Bloomfield, by the way. I love that basketball team that was on right before me. Anyway, back to the reading. The thing with librarians are, we found there's a huge need. There's a constituent in our district who wrote a couple of books about online literacy, about understanding, using social media, how to do that effectively, and how to tell when something you're reading is a story or a real thing. Is it truth or fiction? How do you know? How do you find the sources of things? How do you get down to the bottom of it to say, okay, it was entertaining, but I know that it's really just a story. And so we're building curriculum. So this is all in budget. So none of this is approved yet, right? We're in the process of putting all the pieces together and we're trying to put it in the budget for next year. A curriculum development to help those librarians specifically focus on that. It will also give teachers the opportunity to use, there'll be a class, teachers have to do continuing education credits every year. So there'll be a class that they can choose to use that shows them, because online content is in every kind of class anymore. It's your papers you're writing, research you're doing. So all teachers should understand how to make sure to include that in their content. So that students understand when they're working online, if you're writing a report, you better make sure that's a factual thing as opposed to somebody's made up story. It's not going to get you a very good grade on your report, right? So all those pieces together gives them all the opportunity to keep up with that technology and make sure that we're making the best use of those online resources. It's a huge piece of it. We got to have all of those things.
No, absolutely. And joining us, we have Michigan Senator Rosemary Bayer representing West Bloomfield, talking about this library in every school legislation that she helped introduce as of recently. And this is addressing, like you said, the declining literacy rates, significant decrease in the number of school librarians employed statewide. There was a decrease in the number of school librarians, 73% between 2000 and 2016, according to sources. Now, with this legislation, I understand in every school, that's the thing, in every school. So with that being said, we're talking about different school districts, different size schools and students. And will this legislation account for the different size schools and different fundings? And I know you spoke about the funding a little bit, but can you get into that, how, the different size libraries and the different schools may fluctuate?
Yeah, and there's, kind of laid out in the legislation a little map of sizes, right? So when you're really, really small, the requirement to have a library diminishes, right? As you get smaller and smaller. If you only have 100 kids in your school, maybe you're going to share a library with a neighboring school or the next nearest school. So there's different ways to look at it. We're trying to be reasonable. And oftentimes, so those bills just got introduced recently. There's always the opportunity for adjustments as the bills go through the process here in the legislature. They've just been introduced. They've not had a committee hearing yet. So we have to go, and that opens up the opportunity for corrections, fixes, improvements, all that kind of stuff that goes all the time when we do new legislation. And this is kind of a big deal. So we want to make sure that everybody knows that we're talking about doing this, that we're taking this very seriously, and we're willing to put resources to it. So here's your chance to speak out loud. We know that the librarians are really excited about this. That it's a big deal for us statewide. I think it's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, and I think more importantly, see, the thing is, a lot of people, like we discussed before, we're in a digital age, and kids nowadays are just phone, tablets, computers for the most part. I wouldn't even say desktop as much. It's really electronics that are more mobile, what these kids are on. So it's the focus. You spoke on a little bit more of the technology side too. Can you give a little bit more insight into the technology investments with this legislation also? Will there be iPads, computers, and things of that nature?
So that's not in this part of the budget, but there are other places where that kind of equipment is opportunities for funding. And the main thing that we continue to try to do, I mean, this current school year, we raised up the foundational allowance, right? The spending allowance for per student that goes into every school district. We raised that up last year. There's another raise up in the current draft budget, right? We keep focusing on anything we can do, and we're getting pretty close to 10,000 per student, which is a pretty big number. I mean, it's increased a lot in the last 5 years. So we're proud of that. We know we still have a long way to go. And the nice thing about that allowance, basically, it goes into the district, and local districts, some have a lot of technology, some do not, and they may need to, they get to use their own methods and adjustments to how they spend that money, right? They have to pay teachers, that's a given. How many teachers? What subjects do we add? I mean, all those things are local decisions. So that gives them a lot of flexibility. Do we need more technology or not? It's a big focus for all of us because we know that's how we live now. We need to make sure that every kid everywhere, this is another equity piece of the conversation, right? If you don't have access all the time, you're losing. You're losing out. Somebody else is online all the time keeping up, and you don't have that opportunity. That's not fair. So it's really important to make sure we do that.
No, I grew up, my mother used to take me to the library growing up. We would go there, find different books on different subjects. We would utilize the computer because we didn't have access to one at home at the time. And then I also worked at a library when I went to college. So I spent about 4 years there. I used to take books home that they were going to discard. So I appreciate the art and the science of the library and the librarian. Getting into the librarian specifically, why is it so important to have a state certified librarian? Why not just a regular staff member or volunteer parent to come and oversee the library?
Well, you do actually want someone who has the skills, right? So we could have, and we probably, I would imagine many school districts do have volunteers come in and help, but not lead the instruction, not lead the skill development, not lead the things that actually are what are the professional skills that those librarians bring. Now, one of the things that we are doing, and Wayne State is a big piece of the work here, but to create a kind of an accelerated certification program so that teachers who want to become librarians could do that quicker. Right, get another opportunity to build up our stock of certified librarians through that kind of program. So we'll continue to support those at universities wherever we can, as the teachers do their ongoing course credits. That's that's a really good choice for them to be able to do that. So it's exciting work, especially now. It's just going to get better and better.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the insight and information so far. Michigan Senator Rosemary Bayer joining us. Any last words, any additional information, important information that the residents should know, anything that we can do to help out in the time being?
So kind of back to your story, right? When you were a kid, having a librarian in our family made a big difference, right? I'm one of 6 kids. We would all pile in the station wagon. I'm a lot older than you, right? So we didn't have computers and phones and all that. We would all pile in the car. We would go to the Romeo Library and check out as many books. And they actually got to know us. They would let us take extra books. But everybody read all the books. So even though my older brother was, 8 years older than my younger sister, he read all the books. I mean, everybody read everybody else's books. And because there isn't really no other success factor more important than reading. Doesn't matter what you're reading. Read the box. My brother would read the cereal box.
Yeah.
Out loud.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
read
Yeah.
it. Just read it. Just see
Mhm.
what's on the bottom. So that's my advice always.
Yeah.
Read to your kids. Let them read back to you. See how many times you have to read that book before they can read it to you. Get it out there. It's the whole answer.
That is great advice and a great word. It all starts at home. If you can at least bring that influence at home, your children, even if there is a library at the school, they will at least draw interest to that. Because if it's not necessarily an interest that the kid has in general and the parents aren't influencing that, then a library in school may not even do any good at all.
Absolutely true. I mean, if you're sitting there reading the cereal box out loud, guess what they're going to do the next day? They're going to read the cereal box, right? I mean,
Right.
that's what happens. Kids want to be like us. We know that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, Michigan Senator Rosemary Bayer, joining us on the Splash Live, talking about the library in every school bill. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It was a delight.
Absolutely. Tyler, I think this is such a great thing that she has introduced. Like I said, being a kid that just grew up in the library, also worked in the library before, have books, have my own little library. I love this, and I love that they are introducing this.
Yeah, reading is such an important component to a child's education. They're able to read, they're able to learn on their own, whether they have access to the technology online that many of us take for granted, and Senator Bayer had even mentioned, or not. That curiosity that they have on a topic, they can go to their school library if there is one in place, or even their local library. We know here in the greater West Bloomfield area that all students enrolled in the West Bloomfield School District have access to the West Bloomfield Township Public Library. That includes kids that are coming in from maybe other communities through school of choice. And so those resources can be available to them, and having the literacy, the ability to read and the ability to seek out that information can be critical to their education and to them building interests in the future.
No, absolutely. Trust me. I could have asked 20 minutes worth of questions going on for that, because my curiosity and my level of experience from the library, just drags me into, wanting to know more about this bill and the things that's going on behind it. But I enjoyed the library. It's a great space. It's a quiet space. You can learn, you can focus. And I'm in that for libraries and books, hardcover books.
Yeah, I'm a hardcover book guy too. I have not been able to will myself into any sort of virtual devices for reading going forward. I even I've done it for newspapers, but it's about as far as I can go with that. And even then, I'd like to sometimes just sit down at a coffee shop or at the local library with the actual paper in my hand and get that physical reading done. Good stuff, Kevin, and thank you for that with Senator Bayer. Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. We'll take a break. On the other side, election season is far from over, and West Bloomfield Township needs your help in order to help our elections run smoothly going forward. And there's plenty of opportunities for you to get involved in the community and keep our elections safe, secure, and moving forward efficiently. Township Clerk Debbie Binder joins us next on the Splash Live.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live. What people are watching in Kego Harbor. Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Want to enjoy Civic Center TV on your social media? Find us on Instagram at Civic Center TV. Get notified when we upload one of our interviews, full episodes, and more. Thank you for watching and listening to Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. And now, back to the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM alongside Kevin McIntosh. I'm your host, Tyler Kieft. Thank you for joining us, and I want to remind you, you can always keep up to date with each and every one of our stories, find our interviews, and all of our programming on demand on civiccentertv.com. Don't forget, follow us on Facebook at Civic Center TV 15, as well as on YouTube for even more content from your friends here at Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Well, we are through the presidential primary, but we still have a few more elections before we get to the general in November. All throughout each of these elections, some of the most critical people making them run in our community are our election workers, otherwise known as election inspectors. West Bloomfield Township is seeking some more of those for upcoming elections in the coming months, and joining us to talk about these opportunities is West Bloomfield Township Clerk Debbie Binder. Clerk, thank you for being with us today.
Good morning, Tyler. Good morning, Kevin.
Yeah, glad to have you on to talk about this, and a happy day to you as well. This is an important position. Our election workers, our election inspectors are critical to being able to run our elections efficiently, safely, and smoothly in our community. Tell us a little bit about this position and just how important it is to our local clerk's office here in West Bloomfield and in other communities.
Well, it's critical in every community, but it's especially critical here because of our size. We are a community of 67,000 residents and 57,000 registered voters, 26 precincts in 17 polling locations. So it takes a lot of staff to to conduct an election. We usually are between 250 and 400 people we staff up to on election day. So without a committed group of I don't want to say volunteers because they get paid, but when you look at what they get paid per hour, they're not coming for the money, they're coming for the reward of it. But it does take a large group of people to help make these elections run the way that we need them to. So we are lucky, and I know I consider myself a very fortunate clerk to have the number of people who are willing to step into that role. And, we are constantly recruiting to make sure we do have enough people because people do retire after a period of time. I did take a look, Tyler. We right now have 79 people who've worked over 10 years and over 20 people who've worked over 20 years. So it is something that people find rewarding. When I'm recruiting people, I always tell them it's a very long day, everyone complains, and everyone comes back because they do feel like they're part of something big. And there's no better way to learn what goes on in an election process and to understand the checks and balances that are in place and to be reassured that there are many protections in place in an election and that your ballot does count. And there's just no better way to get that experience than to participate as an election inspector and learn. So we do need to, always replenish staff because we have people who retire. We have leadership positions, and it's a great opportunity for seniors that are looking for a way to get involved, but also our young people in our community that want something that's an outstanding entry on their college application or on their resume. It's a phenomenal entry in that capacity, and it gives them great experience. It allows them to many of them have become leaders in our precincts and have done it for years. So we are always encouraging everyone to get involved. We're happy to have, I'd rather have way too many than not enough. And I do, again, feel fortunate that we have so many people in our community willing to step forward and ensure that we can run the elections that we do as smoothly as we can. And we always have to staff. We actually just had in this last February election, I tell our inspectors, life happens. People get sick, people have deaths in the family, stuff happens. So we plan to lose about 10% on election day or within the week before. This year we lost almost 20% of our people were sick or something on that week before the election. So there was a lot of moving. And that's why we always have to have a trained, ready group of people to step in when we have to fill those spaces to make sure that everything runs smoothly for our voters and our residents. So we work really hard at it.
There are election inspector positions open right now in West Bloomfield Township. If you are interested and you'd like to get involved in working our elections here in West Bloomfield, you can find more information on wbtownship.org. Again, that's wbtownship.org. West Bloomfield Township Clerk Debbie Binder joins us on today's edition of the Splash Live. And there are, as you said, so many moving parts that go in behind the scenes to running our elections, and our election inspectors cover many of those moving parts. What are some of the roles and responsibilities that people may undertake if they do become an election worker?
Well, and I will tell you that, but let me preface that you do have training. So we don't just throw you out there and say, conduct an election. We understand that this is a job that requires precision and accuracy, and you get to practice it once, twice, 3, maybe 4 times a year. So we rely on that training to supplement what you don't get in experience. So there is plenty of training. But the opportunities that exist are to either work in a precinct where there's many positions in a precinct. You might be the person greeting a voter. You might be the one working with them as they fill out their registration card and checking their license. You might be the person checking them in on the computer or handing them out the ballot. And you may be the person standing at the machine that they scan their ballot through and giving them the sticker. That's their favorite part of the experience, when you get to give them their sticker. So there are lots of experiences in the precinct. We also have the opportunity to participate in a mini absent voter counting board that takes place back here at Town Hall on Election Day, where ballots that arrive after 4 p.m. the Monday before the election are counted at our mini absent voter counting board. Now, the county is partnering with us to count all of the absentee ballots that arrive before 4 p.m. the Monday before. So if somebody wanted to work in the county on Election Day instead, and there is a West Bloomfield pod, they would also be able to work in Oakland County on Election Day at the West Bloomfield pod. And one other option that is new this year is we started with early voting. We did have it last November, but there weren't very many precincts. So this was the first large all township election that we had, where we had early voting at the West Bloomfield main library campus. We had 888 voters that participated in it, and we have to staff that early voting center for 9 days, which includes the 2 weekends before the election and the week in between. So it's Saturday, Sunday, the Monday through Friday, and then the following Saturday and Sunday. No early voting on Monday. But that is also an opportunity. The county does staff that. The county has partnered with us throughout the county. It's been something that Lisa Brown did that helped the local clerks so much, because by providing those early voting regional centers, it has saved the township money in terms of equipment and staffing and everything. So it's been a really wonderful experience, and the feedback has been great. But that is another option, to be an election inspector and to work the early voting center. But that does typically, you're not required to work the whole week, but they do typically seem to schedule people who have more availability, just because it's continuity in knowledge that can persist throughout the week. But it's another opportunity to get involved, and the people who did it had a great time. We get notes after Election Day telling us that they want to be back with the same team they were with. They had such a nice day with them. They become a little precinct family. They plan their food, and they like to show me their spread when I go around to visit the precincts. But it really is an enjoyable opportunity, and I think every single person who does get involved, has a different appreciation and understanding of the election process, and feels very strongly that they are part of it, and it's rewarding. So I think it's a great opportunity, and that's why we're reaching out now to get more people involved and make sure we continue to have enough inspectors, as we do have people who retire, and offer the opportunity. It's just it's a great experience, and it's a great time to come aboard. This will be an extremely busy year. We will have those precincts well staffed to make sure our voters can get through comfortably. But it will take probably 13-ish people in each precinct of 26 precincts. So I need a lot of people for this election, and then the absent voter counting board. So we did put an ad in the Beacon as well, and we appreciate Civic Center TV and your constant support in helping us procure additional election inspectors as needed, and making sure that our voters have information. But we're just doing another plea to have people join us. Call the clerk's office at 248-451-5255. 248-4848. Again, it's 248-451-4848. Or you can email electioninspector@wbtownship.org. We'll get you signed up. There's an application on the clerk's page at the township website. Lots of ways to get involved and lots of opportunities. If someone wants information, I'm happy to give more information, but please also, I can't stress enough, send us your kids and young ones, because it's just fabulous for them to get involved. I made my own child work last year.
And on that note, as you mentioned, the kids can get involved at certain ages. Lastly, Debbie, what is that early age limit in order for people to become election inspectors in West Bloomfield?
Okay, they can be 16 years old or to become involved as an election inspector. If they're over 18, they do have to be a Michigan elector, but they can be 16 or 17 as long as I have 3 people over 18 already in a precinct. Then I may use the 16 and 17-year-olds to get them involved. And we do try, Tyler, because we know that if they don't have a nice day, they're not coming back. So we really do try to make sure that they're with at least one of their peers, if not more, so that they do have an enjoyable day. And we really try to make it friendly for them to appreciate the experience and to find value in it. And that's how we get them to come back for a couple years till they go off to college or whatever they do. And then hopefully they send their friends. And that actually has been what has happened in many on many occasions. They've sent a friend or somebody from school, and we just kind of keep that funnel going. But we would like to expand. We had gotten up to a large number of young people, and we have just recently reached out to National Honor Societies and the government classes and the principals again to try to procure and recruit some more young election inspectors. It brings a different energy to those precincts, and it also brings really, native computer skills. So it's always a good thing too.
And a great way to get involved in the community. And as you mentioned, reaching out to local principals, NHS organizations, government classes, a great civics lesson as well. Clerk Binder, thank you very much for your time today.
Hey, Tyler, thank you. And thank you always for making sure that we get those important messages out. I very, very much appreciate you and Civic Center TV. Thank you.
Always glad to get the word out and help the community become more informed on ways that they can get involved in our elections and learn about the election process in West Bloomfield. For more information, if you're interested in becoming an election inspector in West Bloomfield, wbtownship.org, or call the clerk's office 248-451-4848. Kevin, a great way for people to learn more about the election process in the greater West Bloomfield community and understand what's going on behind the scenes as they're voting on election day too.
No, that's very, very important to know the ins and outs of the voting system, I should say, your local voting system, more importantly. So it's great that she has that opportunity, and she has it for the young adults starting off at a young age too, in the teens.
And West Bloomfield Township doing a great job with getting that word out as well. And we have seen them do training a number of times in the past for their election workers. They do a great job getting involved.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin, across our community, a number of different organizations doing their best, including our local government in West Bloomfield Township and the police department, to help people in need in our community, and often partnering with other community organizations in their missions on that front as well. That is currently ongoing with another very familiar local community organization.
Yes, absolutely, Tyler. So West Bloomfield Township and West Bloomfield Police Department recently collabed with Hospitality House, local Hospitality House, for their Client Choice Food Pantry event. And joining us to talk a little bit more about it is Executive Director of Hospitality House Food Pantry, Susan Erspommer. Thank you for joining us, Susan.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So before we really get into the actual event, Hospitality House, can you tell us a little bit more about this organization?
I sure can. So in the United States, food insecurity is growing. So last year it grew by 30%. Here at Hospitality House, our numbers increased by 100%. So Hospitality House is a client choice pantry. And by that, I mean, when people come here, we don't hand them a box of food. They get a grocery cart and they're allowed to shop our shelves, kind of like a mini grocery store. So people are treated with dignity and respect, and it cuts down on food waste at the same time. Besides our client choice pantry, we have also partnered with many schools. In the state of Michigan, kids get free breakfast and free lunch, but we know they're going home hungry on the weekend. So every week we are packing 300 drawstring bags and delivering them to 12 schools in the area. They have 6 meals and 4 snacks in them. So those are the two main things Hospitality House is doing in the community here.
That is interesting. You know, I never even put it together until you just explained it. That's why I'm glad you did. Client choice food pantry. They have the choice to go in there and grab what they need. That is a great gesture, first and foremost. I don't know too much about that, but now we're getting into the actual client choice pantry. Now, this is essentially, like you said, you're partnering with Vibe Credit Union, West Bloomfield Police Department, West Bloomfield Township, and you're going to have donation boxes at different locations. Could you explain this process a little bit more?
Yeah, Vibe is a wonderful partner of Hospitality House. They also send volunteers regularly to the pantry. We're very volunteer driven. So Vibe initiated this with the West Bloomfield Police and the township. And from April 15th to April 26th, they're going to have boxes available at the West Bloomfield Vibe location and also at the Civic Center, the township area as well. So it'll start on the 15th and run through the 26th. They're going to be doing a kickoff here on April 6th and send some more volunteers to us from different areas. So we're very lucky to have community partners. That's how Hospitality House is able to do what we do. When we talk about the client choice, so we buy food and we get food free from Hospitality House. But when people do food drives like this for us, it allows us to have the variety on the shelf so people can truly come in and be able to select something and they're not just choosing from one option.
No, absolutely. No, and that's a great thing because that's usually kind of a stigma with food pantries also, that they only get the lower brand or whatever the case may be, or it may only be one brand. With this type of volunteer opportunity or people donating, you definitely do get a wide variety. So it's not just catering to one type of brand or one type of person's interest or whatever the case may be. Speaking on the volunteer portion of it, just real quick, we do have Hospitality House Executive Director Susan Erspommer joining us, talking about their collaboration on West Bloomfield Township and West Bloomfield Police Department's client choice food pantry event. Can you talk about the opportunities that you have for the volunteers? You said April 6th is when you're actually looking for volunteers to come together and help for this specifically, correct? Can you talk a little bit more about it, the requirements or qualifications?
Yeah, well, April 6th, actually, those entities will be sending volunteers to us, but we are open for client shopping on Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and we need volunteers on all of those days. So the volunteers partner with people to shop for pantry. They help hold the bags open, tell them, what's available on the shelves. We also, like a grocery store, like on Mondays, we have 110 people that come through the pantry. So we need volunteers to go to our warehouse and continuously stock our shelves as well. Some days when we have food drives like this, we need volunteers to help sort food. We have long-term volunteers that are at our front desk and do various things like that as well.
And what about the qualifications or requirements for anyone who wants to be on the receiving end of these donations? Are there any requirements or any steps that someone should go to be a recipient?
Yeah, we ask that people are 200% of the poverty rate. They come here, they fill out a brief application, and we sign them up for services. We do not ask for verification. We believe if people are coming here and telling us they're hungry and need food, that they're hungry and need food, so they will get food from us.
Oh, the honor system. I like that. I like that. That makes for an even better.
Yeah, it takes courage for people to come here.
No, and that's a great point too, because and that's why we do things like this here on Civic Center TV, because we want to get the word out. If anyone is in need, or if you know someone who is in need, or if you even want to volunteer, you have some extra things in your home and you want to get rid of them, or you just want to donate them because you know someone else could benefit better from them. This is an organization that you can go to if you want to volunteer or if you want to donate. Can you just talk about any other events or any other opportunities for volunteers that you have with Hospitality House?
Sure. Well, like I said, we have always weekly opportunities for volunteering. Another event we have coming up this summer is our golf outing, and that'll be July 29th at Edgewood Country Club. So we'll be posting information on our website about that soon, and look for golfers to come out. It's usually a lot of fun.
Nice. Now I'll make come out there if you allow hockey sticks. I'll get my Happy Gilmore going out there. I'm not experienced with golf at all. But
Come
that's
on out
interesting.
there. It's best ball, so you can't go wrong.
No, definitely. Susan Erstbommer, Executive Director with Hospitality House, partnering with West Bloomfield Township and West Bloomfield Police Department, joining us. Thank you again for your time, Susan.
Thank you so much for having me on your show today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We love sitting here and promoting things for our local community, talking about things that are coming up, things that they could benefit from, or things that they can just spread the word about, because we are all about community. Come unite, Tyler. That's what we are all about here at Splash Live.
Yeah, and it's not a unique problem, food insecurity, to our community here in the greater West Bloomfield area. Right. And it's not uncommon to people in our communities as well to be dealing with these issues too. So it's good to know, A, that there are resources available, but B, that our communities are taking this seriously as well and partnering with these organizations in order to get the word out and make these resources as readily available as they can possibly be.
No, absolutely. Listen, I come from a home where we had to go to organizations like this to get certain gifts and certain foods and things like that. I remember getting Goodwill boxes for Christmas with the socks and the lifesavers. And it's all thanks to organizations like this and people who donate and volunteer their time to organizations like this. So I always advocate for that.
And like Susan said, it takes courage for people to approach these organizations, to go to their local food pantry and say, I'm in need of this help. And by doing so, they are also saying thank you to the people who have the courage and have the heart to make those donations and to make this a priority in their life, to help their neighbors who could be right next door to them, could be a few blocks over. Correct. Or in the next city block. So really important stuff, and thank you for that. Kevin, it's important for us to also keep in mind as we get closer into the middle part of the year that we're approaching severe weather. The severe weather times here in the state of Michigan really begins toward the end of March, peaks in the middle to the late summer. But Severe Weather Awareness Week coming up next week all across the state of Michigan, and Oakland County will be participating in a statewide voluntary tornado drill that will be occurring on Wednesday, March 20th. So before we get into more details on that voluntary tornado drill, I want to show you a video that was provided to us by the National Weather Service about what steps you can take in the event of a tornado, making sure you get weather ready for if and when a tornado may strike your community, which becomes more and more common this time of the year in the Great Lakes state. Let's take a look.
Use your arms to protect your head and neck. If your area is under a tornado warning, act now. You may only have a few minutes to get to safety. Seek shelter immediately. Go to a safe room, basement, storm cellar, or the lowest level in a sturdy building. If there is no basement, go to the center of the building and away from windows and doors. Put as many walls as possible between you and the outside. Get under a sturdy object like a table and cover yourself with pillows and blankets. Use your arms to protect your head and neck. A helmet can offer some protection too. If you are in a car, drive to a shelter immediately. If there isn't enough time and you are caught by extreme winds or flying debris, park the car as quickly and safely as possible out of the traffic lanes. Stay in the car with the seatbelt on. Put your head down below the windows. Cover your head with your hands and a blanket, coat, or other cushion if possible. Do not park under an overpass or bridge, and never try to outrun a tornado in an urban or congested area. If you are outside, find the lowest point on the ground and lie face down. Use your arms to protect your head and neck. And most importantly, watch out for flying debris. It causes most fatalities and injuries. Safety is job number one. Get weather ready.
It's a good time of the year, Kevin, to be thinking about these measures we can take. We talked earlier on the week about changing the clocks over from daylight saving time over the weekend and checking in on some of your emergency provisions in place to prevent fire in your home or to encourage fire safety in your home. Now, as we head into Severe Weather Awareness Week, it's a good time to refine your plans for when a big storm comes in. What do you do with the kids when they're outside playing and around the community? What do you do inside your home if those tornado sirens go off and a warning is in place? All good stuff to start thinking about this time of the year.
This Michigan is not new to tornadoes. If you drive past certain areas, you can see the effects of these type of things. So yes, it is important to know what to do. Now, while some of it may sound like it's common sense is not common. So it is important. I just learned something there. Don't park a car under the overpass. I would have thought that was something safe. So we want to make sure. And another thing I learned, it is a tongue twister to say Severe Weather Awareness Week. I saw you struggle with that, Tyler.
Yeah, you got to really keep those S's together when you're delivering that on the air. Kevin, we'll have more information on Severe Weather Awareness Week as we get into the week itself. We'll reach out to the National Weather Service locally here in the White Lake Pontiac area, which serves our community, and perhaps even the Michigan State Police and other resources. You can always keep up to date with the latest news and information across the greater West Bloomfield area right here on The Splash Live, Monday through Friday. Find our full episodes and all of our segments on demand on CivicCenterTV.com. Follow us on Facebook at Civic Center TV 15 and YouTube at Civic Center TV. For our entire team, Jake Schaff, Kevin McIntosh, Calvin Brown at Master Control, I'm Tyler Keefe. Thank you for watching The Splash Live.